Welcome back to Roots in the Wilderness. My name is Kate Hamilton, and today we're talking about the Antelope Canyon Ultramarathon that my friend Brodie and I ran this past weekend. Brodie's here too. He's going to help me to remind me of things that I want to say and maybe contradict some of the stuff that I do tell you. So that's what today is, just a recap of our experience with this ultramarathon. The Antelope Canyon Ultra is in Page, Arizona, and we, like a couple of idiots, signed up for the 50-mile race, which is 80 kilometers through the desert on a horse with no name. Just kidding. We sang that the whole race. It was, other people probably didn't find us funny, but we enjoyed it.
We're hilarious.
We're hilarious, yeah. To get to Page, I flew to Vegas and then took a shuttle to meet Brodie in Utah, where his parents live. And then we drove to Page from Utah together. We got to, the race was on Saturday, and we got to Page on Friday in time to go to the race expo and pick up our bibs. And as soon as we got to the race expo, my anxiety set in, of course, realizing that I actually had to run this race and picking up the t-shirt and then being surrounded by a whole bunch of fit people looking around feeling like I didn't fit in. But it was good. And they had, at the race expo, they had a, well, I should also say Page, Arizona is in a Navajo Nation. So we were running, the whole race is on Navajo land. So they had a welcome. The Navajo people did a really nice welcome, and they had hoop dancers and just kind of explained about Navajo Nation and what the land meant to them, and that was really cool to hear. After we watched that presentation, we went back to the hotel, and basically all of our stuff exploded everywhere as we were trying to decide what food we needed to bring and what we were going to wear. And luckily for us, Brodie's dad, Lyle, our chief crew member, came to join us in Page on Friday night. And he came to the entire race to take care of us and meet us at particular aid stations to make sure that we had everything we needed. So thanks to Lyle. I don't know what we'd do without him.
He's in there somewhere.
Yeah, in the background somewhere in the house. Anyways. So Friday night, we also had a bit of a kerfuffle because the time, I guess the time doesn't change in Page, and it was different to all the areas around us. So our watches and phones all said different things. And I Googled the time to make sure that we had the right time, but it was just another thing to add to the anxiety about, are we going to get to the race on time?
The one town in Arizona that doesn't have a change.
Yeah, the one town that doesn't have a change of time. So my phone and Lyle's phone had the right time, and Brodie's stuff all had the wrong time.
Because I have a Huawei.
Huawei, yeah, exactly. Huawei.
They're not allowed in the US.
Yeah. Anyway, so we basically spent the rest of Friday night trying to organize ourselves so that Saturday morning we could just put on our clothes and start the force feeding and then get to the race on time. Anyway, Saturday morning came very early at 4 a.m. when Lyle busted into the hotel room and yells at 4 in the morning, "What's the number one rule?" Brodie?
Party.
Party, exactly. Then my anxiety was even higher starting the day. But we got our stuff together very quickly. And then again, we had another kerfuffle of time because there was a app that you could download to your phone so that people could track you, so you could send it to your friends so they'd know exactly where you were. It worked with the GPS on your phone. And Brodie's, he had it down before I did. It said we were still in the hotel room and the app said 5 minutes until race start. And so I Googled again what the actual time was. And we had a full conversation about how silly it would be to have the race start at a different time in the local area. So we were pretty sure that we got it right. Anyway, we were still worried until we actually got to the starting of the race because of that app. Freaked us all out. Anyways, we got to the start of the race at like 5:15. The race starts at 5:45.
Yeah.
And we hopped out of the car in the darkness with our headlamps, and it was like a sandstorm.
Crazy wind.
So windy. Brodie was being a big baby about it being too cold.
Yeah.
Not a real Canadian.
It was cold. It was super cold.
It was chilly. I wouldn't say it was cold. The wind was annoying though. Like, it was super windy.
Cold for 5 o'clock in the morning when you should be sleeping.
When you should be sleeping, yeah. Anyway, we walked over to once we convinced Brodie to get out of the car, we walked over to the starting area of the race. And it was a really cool setup. So they had, they're called hogans. They're a Navajo hut that are made from like mud and sticks. And there was a couple of those at the race start. And they had bonfires in the middle of them. So when we went into the hogans, it was super warm, like too hot, like you wanted to stand by the door, which was really cool to get out of the wind and be warm until the race start. And all the racers started to gather, and it kind of felt like it was a little party. Right?
Kumbaya!
Kumbaya, my lord, exactly. Right before the race started, Brodie leaves to go to the washroom. It's like 1 minute until race time.
I had to take care of business.
And here I was like holding my pee because I was too nervous to leave the start time and then miss the start of the race and then be very last in the pack and have to try to catch up to everyone. Anyways, then Brodie disappears. Lyle and I are standing there looking around. They start the race. I still can't see Brodie. And I was like panicking because I was like, if I leave now, if I just leave without him, I'll never find him again. Or what else could happen is he might think that I already left and then he'll leave and then I'll be again back at the end of the race, the end of the pack, which I was worried about to begin with. Anyways, he finally came, and it wasn't a big deal because they actually started the race in kind of waves. So not everybody went all at once, because right at the beginning, right from the start line, it was like we were all in one big lineup for a half an hour. So leaving the start line, we basically went down this big sand hill, and then we crossed the highway, and then we all started this long kind of scramble up some slick rock, and it was a place where you had to go one at a time. So we basically walked for the first 30 minutes anyway, so it wouldn't have been a big deal. And it wasn't a big deal because we went just in a later wave of people leaving. But it's really cool to watch the start of the race and everyone in their headlamps kind of entering into the desert and up this scramble slick rock to start the race. We all just kind of followed each other for quite a while until, first of all, until we could actually start running at all. And before the group started to spread out. For me though, too excited. The other thing we were doing during this dark time, the dark in the morning, is Brodie had heard on a Joe Rogan podcast about these supernatural Navajo creatures, the skinwalkers, that are like half person, half animal, that roam the canyons in the darkness.
Yeah. Spreading misery.
Spreading misery. Yeah, so Brodie was hoping he would see one of those because he needs more misery in his life.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, just to add to the 50 miles.
Yeah. I looked it up and it said they get their negative powers by touching corpse dust.
Cadavers?
Cadavers.
Or is it cadavers or corpse? I don't know.
We know what we're talking about. Don't quote us on anything here, but we had fun looking for animal.
Apparently, they travel from dimension to dimension. Even though we couldn't find it on the internet, I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast that they're able to go from any dimension to another dimension, and if you see one, you might end up going into another dimension, and that's probably what happened to us because we feel like we're in another dimension with this whole coronavirus crap.
Yeah,
I know we weren't supposed to talk about it, but I did.
Yeah. That's okay. We can talk about it. Yeah. So then after we did that huge scramble, we basically were just running in the desert. So we were into sand running here. And by this point, the sun started to rise, which was really beautiful. It was still kind of running in a little bit of a lineup because we were on a trail. And everyone was trying to run on the spots in the sand that were a little bit more packed than the other parts because sand running is hard.
But awesome.
It
doesn't wreck your joints.
Yeah, on downhills, running in sand is so great. You just dig in your heels and it feels so soft.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, for the amount of sand running we did that day, I was really grateful. I had done a lot of snow running.
Yeah. Except for your heel. Your ankle was bugging.
Oh yeah, my ankle. My ankle problem just always bugging me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a bunch of sand running. The sunrise was beautiful, and I want to just say there's kind of 3 parts to this race in my mind. So the first kind of 1/3 of the race was a there and back section. So we left the start line and then we ran out to Antelope Slot Canyons, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then run back. And then there's a second part to the race, and then there's a third part to the race. So we're on the first part, running through the sand, and then we eventually come out to the Antelope Slot Canyons. So there's 2, the upper and the lower slot canyons, which are really amazing. They're really deep canyons. They're really like cracks in the ground, and you have to go single file through them, and they're really tall and beautiful land formations. And there was 2 really long, nice sections of the slot canyons. Once we got to the furthest slot canyon, that was kind of our turnaround point for the first section. So then we ran back. We ran through the slot canyon, kind of a little loop at the end, and then ran back down this very long sand straightaway, basically, back to an aid station, and then back up through the sand that we had just ran through.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the there and back. Eventually it kind of broke off, and then we ended up in an area of actual sand dunes. So we ran through the sand dunes for a while. That was probably the hottest part of the day, actually. The sun came out for a little while. It was still really windy. Actually, that whole section was like, we had a headwind.
Yeah, for like half the race.
Half the race, yeah. It was like we weren't moving very fast.
And lots of overcast, which was probably good for us.
Yeah, I was so happy that we had tons of overcast.
We can't even handle any heat.
No, yeah. The Canadians don't know what to do with the heat. When the sun would come out, like full sun for like 10 minutes, it was so hot. I was so grateful that it didn't stay out the whole time.
It's a different kind of heat too. It's like plus 15 here is a lot different than plus 15 in Calgary, I feel.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, so we were running through the sand dunes. There's a lot of up and down there. There's some good hills in there, some good sand up hills. And then we went down one really long sand downhill. And I was just I didn't think to myself. I said to Brodie, I'm like, well, I really hope we don't have to run back up this big long sand hill.
We did.
We had to. And as we were going down that sand hill, the people who were...
His name's Elov Olsen or something?
Something like that.
ELOV, whatever that is.
Is the guy who won the 50-mile race, finished it in just over 6 hours.
Yeah.
And did he beat the 55 kilometers?
He was like a half an hour away from the guy that ran the 55K.
Yeah, so I can't believe he almost beat the guy who ran the shorter distance.
We were talking to Lyle Anderson, who's the race director, and he said that he trains with like Jim Walmsley, who like, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's like the best ultra runner ever. But anyways, yeah. So anyways, we were right behind him for the most part, but
yeah, for the most part, until he turned around and was going the other way when we were going one way.
Yeah, and we just decided we wanted to see more scenery. We weren't really in for the competition that day, so
no, we like to have picnics at every aid station.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, there was 3 Grim Reaper stations that you had to meet the minimum time to continue the race, and for some reason I was all worried about that, but we beat them by like 3 hours, so we didn't have to worry about that, thank goodness. The first one was right at the start of the race. You had to get to the first aid station by 7:30. That was no problem, even with the walking that we had to do at the start of the race.
Oh, I should say second place was Levi Hawks, because that's my brother's, the younger brother's buddy, Hayden Hawks. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Shout out to Levi.
Shout out to Levi.
Oh, man.
Yeah, nice one.
Good one.
Dropping names. I don't really know him. I met him at the running station for 2 seconds through Lyle Anderson, so we're best buddies, but whatever.
Yeah, you're best friends, but I don't really know him.
Yeah, seems like a nice guy though.
So long down sand hill we're on, and then going in the opposite direction is the fast people who are like
freaks.
15 miles ahead of us by this point. And then we eventually get to the Horseshoe Bend aid station. And at this point, we're at 20 miles. And that's when we meet Lyle, not the race director, Lyle, our Brodie's dad, and our crew chief, who was taking care of us. Thank God. He showed up and had smoothies for us. I ate a bunch of chocolate chip cookies. And I changed my shoes there after 20 miles. You didn't. Brodie's stuck in
five sets of shoes for the whole race.
Yeah, I have 5, 3.
Why not?
3, yeah, exactly. Why not? I had Lyle to bring me new shoes. That gives different pressure points on the bottoms of your feet. That's why the bottoms of my feet didn't hurt after the race.
That's why you got that huge 6th toe.
Yeah.
A blister on your.
Yeah, that's true.
On your foot there.
Massive blister. Anyway, that was the Horseshoe Bend aid station. That one felt like a party. There was like 1 million people at that station.
Oh, it was such a party.
It was such a party. And that marked the start of the change in terrain, that's for sure. So that was the end of the sand for now. And then we started running on rock. So from sand to like concrete.
Yeah, which is way worse. Even though they said the sand would be the hard part. Horseshoe Bend was like so pretty, but so painful.
Yeah, the rock, it wasn't flat rock. It was super technical, so you really couldn't run a lot of it.
No, it's a lot of walking.
People were walking, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the guys that finished fast were running it, but...
Yeah, they didn't care about their ankles.
It was like probably 10 minutes of, this is so pretty, and then 2 hours of, okay, I'm ready for the sand now. Right. I'm over this. I'm over stubbing my toe. Yeah, hobble.
Horseshoe Bend was really beautiful. So it's an iconic piece of scenery where the canyon dips down to the Colorado River. It is really beautiful, and we ran along the Colorado River there for a long time. We had like 12 miles, almost a half marathon basically of running on that rock and along the river for a long time.
Yeah.
And then after that, it took a while to get away from the river and run that rock back in the direction that we'd come from. And we crossed the high. We
basically like hammered out the first 20 miles. 30 kilometers, 20 miles in like probably 3 or 4 hours. And then the Horseshoe Bend like took us took us 3 or 4 hours just to go through there, and it was only like 20K. Yeah, it was like 12 miles or something. So if you're going through that part, expect to go really, really slow.
Yeah.
So
yeah. When that ended, we entered one last slot canyon.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Had the ladder.
That one had the big ladder that you had to go up. Yeah. And then we had one very long, back to sand straightaway.
Yeah.
A very long one, all the way back to the Horseshoe Bend aid station again. So that was like the second.
You can see the aid station for like a couple miles, and you're just staring at it like,
yeah.
Ever gonna get there?
Those are the stretches that do your head in.
And there's guys on dune buggies just on the side, just like drinking beer, just like, you guys are idiots.
Yeah. We're like, every guy we passed with the dune buggies, we made a joke about boring them. They're probably so sick of stupid jokes.
We had it dialed down by the end of it.
Yeah.
Even though it was probably the same guy, I think it was. He's just like, quit talking to me.
Yeah, I know. It's like I felt like he just moved along with us the whole race. Anyway, so that was the second part basically of the race. So the first part was the slot canyons. The second was the Horseshoe Bend and the rock area. And we came back to that same aid station, the Horseshoe Bend aid station, the party station, where Lyle was there again for us with more smoothies and more cookies. And by that point we were at, how far were we by that point? Actually, here's the map. You could show
probably. Well, we had 30 more kilometers to go, so we were like 50K in. Yeah, we were like 50. So like.
Where is it?
What is that in miles?
32 miles. We're at 32 miles, so we still had 17 more miles to go from that after that section.
Yeah.
So the first section down to Antelope Canyon, Slot Canyons, and then we ran over to Horseshoe Bend, did a big loop there. This is that long sand straightaway. Sorry for those of you listening that can't see this. And then we kind of loop back near the city. And that took quite a while, this section here. How long was that? Like 32 to 30. Okay, it was like 10 kilometers, 6 miles from the Horseshoe aid station to the Page Rim aid station before kind of that last section of the race. For some reason, I thought the last section of the race, that around Page, just by looking at a map, would be not that nice, just circling the city. But it was so beautiful running around the city or town of Page.
Yeah.
The Page Rim Trail was gorgeous.
If you've never been there, it's like such a pretty town. I wasn't expecting it. It's
yeah, it was really
beautiful.
nice. It was really beautiful. Oh, I also want to mention, previous to this race, this 80-kilometer race, the furthest I'd ever ran was 55 kilometers. So Brodie and I had a celebration at 55 kilometers, passing my longest distance ever.
We basically had a celebration every kilometer.
Longest she's ever run.
It took us so long to do a kilometer. It's like, yay!
25
Yeah,
kilometers.
Yeah.
A nice.
Once you get to that far, like, first of all, at least for us, Brodie and I, running long distances like this isn't fast. Like, you take your time, you settle in, you force feed yourself, because we don't like eating while we're exercising, but we have to, otherwise you won't make it.
Yeah, we did good though. We had no stomach issues the entire time.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We were able to eat the whole way, which was, thank God.
For me, which is amazing because I usually end up barfing.
Yeah, I was glad you did.
Seriously,
barfing. Strength in numbers. That's what we get through the race. And but what happens is, like, now we're near the end of the race. It turns in from a slow run to a shuffle, the ultra shuffle,
which is slightly faster than a walk. You feel like you're going really fast because it hurts so much, but you're really just doing a speed walk, but a little gimpy run.
Yeah, total gimpy run.
But we passed tons of people.
It's true.
Yeah.
So the last section around that Page Rim Trail, that 17 miles or whatever, that trail was beautiful. It was the type of trail that you would crush if you were only running that, if you were feeling good, because it wasn't technical. The hills weren't, I mean, there were some bigger hills, but in general, it was really rolly. It was really, really beautiful, really nice trail. Thank goodness, because we weren't stubbing our feet as much compared to
we didn't. None of us wiped out. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's so beyond me, since I fall all the time. Yeah, no falling on this race. This is the point, though, this last section here, where we started entering the Pain Cave. The Pain Cave is a beautiful place.
It's a wonderful place you want to be.
It's the place you want to be.
Yeah.
It is the place where you can't find anything that doesn't hurt, so everything just blends together as one big
encompassing pain.
Yeah, one encompassing pain. There is one key to the Pain Cave, one key and one key only, and that is you only have your mind left, so you better be thinking, I can do this, otherwise you will not do it. Because it is terrible. As every step, every movement is like, oh, just cringe-worthy. Brodie made a comment about it earlier, my sixth toe. When I took off my shoe at the end of the race, I had a blister, like if you put your pointer finger and thumb together, that big, that stuck out like 3 inches from my foot. And in any normal situation, that would have hurt so bad while I was running. I did not feel it at all. I had way bigger problems going on. That wasn't even a concern. Like, it was just like, everything is just like, you're just like one big pain. The way I felt was I could snap anything at any point. And what did you say? How you felt? Like you're a piece of, you could just like shatter into pieces.
I was like, basically if I tripped and fell, I'd be like a glass plate and just shatter all over the trail. Like all my bones and my limbs would just go everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Brodie and I had different, like we both were in the Pain Cave right at the very end for sure, but we both had different waves of Pain Caves when one of us was a bigger baby than the other. And when Brodie's in the Pain Cave, he is like, slow down, we need to walk, I need to drink and eat something now. And I'm like, okay, Brodie, no problem. Here's our chief crew dancing away. When I'm in the Pain Cave, Brodie is like, no, keep running. Like, you go in front because it'll make you get more motivation to keep going. We're not stopping now.
I did not say anything like this.
You did.
I was just like, all right, we got this. I wasn't like so pushy. You make me sound like I'm a drill sergeant. I was just like,
you're like not.
But you know what's funny, when you're in that much pain, I probably like even just a remote, just be like, okay, let's keep going. Just like
felt like slap it.
Like, come on, let's go, let's move this. Like, you know, like total drill sergeant. Because I know that, like, when you're in that state of mind, just somebody even being like, I'm going to run, you're like, you're an asshole. Why are we running right now?
Yeah.
I hate you.
Totally.
But
I get really quiet when I'm in the pain cave. I just get into my, like, I can do this. I get into my self-motivation talk in my head, and I just, like, barely can answer.
No, we did really good. I think it's, like, it's a good thing going forward.
Yeah.
Because if you can stay in that, the longer you can stay in that, the better off you are.
Sure, the faster you can get off of your feet.
Yeah, like we didn't, like I think there was a point for me at 60K when I was like, I'm so over this. And then after that, I had a little smoothie, and then things seemed to pick up on that last, like, 15 kilometers, I think, or something like that. Yeah. But it was like, the pain was there, everything sucked, but it was just, it's just like, you just kept moving, and it hurt to walk, so like, it hurt a little bit more to run. It was just like, pick your poison, really.
Yeah, it's true. That's what I'm most proud of. The whole race was, we ran most of those last 15 kilometers, most of them, and I have never been in so much pain in my life. Yeah, yeah, it was crazy, but there was also a benefit. Not Brodie and I weren't racing against anyone for sure. We just did it to finish, but we passed a lot of people in those last 15 kilometers. And
I know, yeah, it's like, I shouldn't say this, but it's like, it's actually so motivating to pass other people at the end. Like, I know you're supposed to be like, everyone's supposed to be in like, oh, it's just like, you know, the ultra community, everyone's supporting each other, but like, nah, like, I want to pass you at the end.
Brodie became a competitor.
I just really, yeah, like, it's like, even though I'm like passing you like so slow, I'm just like, yeah. And then you run by people and you go like, you're doing great. And in the back of your mind, like, I just bumped up a place. I know I'm a jerk.
So funny. I wanted to keep running because I felt like if I stopped, I would just stop.
Yeah.
Like that would be it. But then once you get close, it's so funny though, because I felt like once we had come to the last 20 kilometers, which is a long distance, I was like, we're so close now, Brodie. We're almost done. Brodie's like, we're not almost done. That's a half marathon.
Yeah. Like Kate, we were at 60K and she's like, okay, we got this. Like she was like me at 15. Like we had 15 left, and she's like, we got this. And I was like, Kate, we should eat. And she's like, no.
We're almost done.
Like I can almost see the finish line. It's like, we're just starting the Page Room Trail. She's like, we got this.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the last 5 kilometers, though, it really sets in. You're like, we're done. Yeah. We could keep going. And then I think even the last like mile or whatever, kilometer and a half, we ran.
This is hard for us because we have to convert everything to kilometers and miles.
Yeah.
And we don't know miles very well, so we apologize for being stupid about all this.
Yeah, and going back and forth between kilometers and miles. But that last mile, I couldn't believe how I think we picked up that pace for the last mile, even the shuffle pace. Didn't we?
Oh yeah, we were flying. We're going like 8:30 a kilometer.
We're basically
which is pretty fast actually for being a complete pile of crap.
Yeah, it's true. And that was the end of the race. The end of the race was basically up one big sand hill.
So I decided that I was gonna, like, Kate, you know, she would have beat me anyways, but she could have taken the place ahead of me. So we decided that, you know, it would have been like Kate and then me over the finish line. So Kate gets ahead, and then at the last second, like we didn't see this other guy, but she passed this other guy somehow. And anyways, it ended up being Kate, this random guy that's on our footage too, that just like passes the line in front of me somehow.
The best video too.
Yeah, and then like we're taking a video, and like I think my dad isn't even filming me; he's just filming this other dude that passes me right at the end. Anyway, so it ended up being Kate, this random dude, and then me. So
I got 2 spots ahead of me, so just one.
She did it on purpose.
I did. No, honestly, I just got, the guy was walking, and I was like, I'm running still. I'm not going to walk because you're in front of me here. Too bad I'm passing you right in the last 500 meters.
And you talk about me not being a team player.
Yeah, Brodie let me have it. Whatever, I waited for you earlier.
That's true.
Just kidding. Luckily, we run similar paces, so it works out good.
There's really no, like, you're not going fast on these races.
No, there's no. At least we're not going fast. Okay. Anyway. And then we finished the race. I was so proud of myself. And they had, you could pick your finishing prize of either a big medal or a pottery, this really nice pottery clay cup.
Yeah.
A 50 ml. I chose the mug. Brodie likes his medals. Then he wore around his medal the whole rest of the night.
I wish I did. I always forget to do that. You can only wear them that one day, and that's it.
Yeah. Once the race ended, we walked back to the car with Lyle, who was there waiting for us. Got into the car, and then the fun began when you try to get out of the car.
Yeah. Walking upstairs.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. You felt like you had been hit by a gigantic truck.
Yeah. There's some of these guys that do the 100 miles, and like when we were finishing, they were just starting the other half of their 100-miler race, and I mean, the next day we even drove by and there was people, like it was like 9 a.m. in the morning, people were still going around the Page Rim Trail, so it was
still
insane. Like we were thinking, like I don't even know how people could do that. It's crazy.
No, I don't know how people could do that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing that they can run for that long.
Yeah.
And we kept meeting up with that one guy who did there was one guy who was doing the 100-mile. He was running the same pace as us.
Yeah, he finished in like 26 hours or something.
Yeah, but pretty amazing.
Yeah.
There was one girl.
209, I remember his name, Justin Bennett.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
What's up, man?
Yeah,
I know you're listening.
Yeah,
Long-time listener.
You ever watch this?
There was one girl who finished, they're the time cutoff, so that, like I said, the Grim Reaper times were those 2 times during the day, and then the finish line for the 100-mile race, the finish time was 30 hours.
Yeah.
And if you were over it by 5 seconds, you get a do not finish, or not do not finish, but do not qualify, right?
I think it's just a
do not finish. You don't finish in time. They still finish.
They give you a medal, but they don't. You don't get an official time. Yeah.
You don't get an official time.
Yeah.
But she finished just after 30 hours. What a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And Brodie talked to Lyle, the race director, and said she was so out of it, discombobulated.
Yeah.
Like she was running in the wrong direction at the finish line because she was so messed
Lyle
up.
was trying to tell her to come in, and he was like, go this way. This is the way to go. And then she'd run the other way. And then he'd be like, no, you're going the wrong way. Come back this way. And then she started going another way. And then I think that probably screwed her over pretty good.
Time ended.
But yeah, what a total
slap in the face after 30 hours of running.
That's the time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
The one thing I have to say about the 100-mile is the 100-mile didn't have to do the rock section. That's our slowest, the hardest part of the race. They didn't run that part, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
But they didn't loop that one lots of times.
No, they just looped the last section, the Page Rim Trail.
Okay, so the 100-mile included the Slot Canyons, the Horseshoe Bend, and then it just repeatedly looped the Page Rim Trail until they were done.
Yeah, yeah. And to make us feel even worse, we finished at like 12 hours and
20 minutes.
20 minutes, like give or take. And then the first 100-miler that came in was at 15 hours.
Yeah.
So he basically ran 50 miles. Like that's in the span of like 2 hours. It's crazy.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
So fast like lightning.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, losers.
It's pretty impressive.
Jerks.
Yeah, jerks. I hate them. I hate those guys. Just kidding. No. Anyways, and that was it. That was the race. That we hobbled up the stairs, like very difficult, with so much difficulty. We planned to go out for beers. Didn't. We drank a beer.
We didn't even eat anything. We had so many like weird calories in us that like we went to the grocery store. Yeah. We didn't even want anything. Like I think Kate got an orange.
An orange I did.
And like, oh no, you got a couple things.
An orange. Oh, I ate chips. I ate broccoli and hummus and orange.
Yeah, and then I just got like this fruit cup thing that I thought was gonna be delicious. Then when I got back to the hotel, I took like 2 sips and I was like, this is gross. And then we just went to bed.
And tried to sleep, except everything hurt.
Yeah.
You couldn't move. My hip joints were so uncomfortable. Like it's impossible to sleep. You're so tired.
Yeah, it actually was surprisingly hard to sleep.
Yeah. Compared
to what you would think it'd be because you're exhausted, but just the whole movement, your body is just in shock.
Yeah.
At least I don't know. I'm sure that lots of people that do it all the time are probably just like, that's nothing.
Fine.
50 miles back.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I think of the fact that I ran 80 kilometers, I'm like, well, okay, you're badass.
I would compare the feeling to probably getting hit by a car going roughly 30 kilometers an hour and going over the windshield and then
And then getting up and trying to walk.
And then trying to walk for the next day. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
But you know, surprisingly, I didn't feel that bad the day after. Like not nearly as bad as I thought I would. I had some shin splints on my right leg, but like really nothing too bad.
We went to Zion's the next day and decided that we were gonna hike Angel's Landing.
Nice recovery hike.
Which was way too much for like, it was, I think it ended up being like a 13K hike or something. And we had no problem going up, and we knew that it was going to be good going up, but going down, like our joints were so destroyed.
We were being passed by old people and children.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too, because we had like these race vests, like these hydration vests, and we just looked like 90-year-olds going down
with poles.
And we just felt like we should tell people what we did, just so we're like, they knew that we were not gimps.
Yeah, that we're not just that slow normally.
But we didn't. We
told one guy.
We embraced it. Yeah, we did. Told one person. Yeah.
One person.
Yeah.
I still think we were better off for doing it, even though we probably should have picked just a different hike, one that was more flat rather than straight up and straight down. But that was good. Anyway, so that was the race. As far as if you are a long distance runner and you want to run that race, it was really that beautiful. Like it was. Yeah. It was worth it.
Shout out to Vacation Races and everybody there that puts on such a cool event.
Yeah.
Even in like this huge crisis that they almost got canceled, like seconds away from like the race, like going through. Lyle Anderson said that basically it was like he was on pins and needles the whole time, seeing if this race was going to go by, and that he was getting emails from everybody all over North America telling him that he's a horrible person for putting on this event and whatever. He did it and it was awesome and we had a great time. So
well, also the thing about ultra races, it's not like a big city race. It's in, first of all, nature, so big open air, and then also people aren't crowded together. Like at the start we were together, but it's so spread out. Like you go for ages without seeing people once everyone's kind of spreading out. And it really was a nice way to see the area. We feel like we left there feeling like we knew our way around Page and all the different sites and stuff that Page has to offer. It was like we got like 2 weeks of tours into one day.
Yeah, seriously.
For real, yeah. So check out Antelope Canyon Ultramarathon. I'm gonna have in my show notes a link to a YouTube video that has that Brodie's made with all the footage of the race if you're curious about seeing what it looks like. And feel free to message me if you have any questions about it. Thanks for listening, Brodie. Thanks for chatting with me here and making sure that I covered lots of the stuff that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, you're welcome.
Buddy. Yeah. Well, I'm Kate Hamilton. This was Roots in the Wilderness. Thank you for being here.
Bye.